Hello, it's me Harley, back at it again for yet another video. And today's video is a very special one because I have reached a pretty big milestone for me in YouTube, and that is I have reached 100 subscribers. I honestly didn't think this was going to happen. I've been on YouTube nearly 2 years now, and I started it because of a Duke of Edinburgh project thing for my skills part. So this video I am going to be telling you top 10 things I can think of the top of my head that you may not know about. You may know a couple of these facts, but you may know none at all. And so whichever category you're in, I hope you find this interesting because, as I said, I'm now at 100 subscribers, which is a cause for celebration. A second thing I thought I'd mention is, why am I not doing 100 party poppers? Well, that'll lead me onto my first top 10 things you may not know about me. And that is, very recently I got 2 new pets. And if I did the 100 party poppers celebration, not only would the fumes cause me to go extremely loopy, because if you haven't seen my 50 and 25 party popper ones, then it's something that I didn't know before doing that, but you can go loopy off the fumes of party poppers, especially if you're in a confined space, even with pretty good ventilation, which is something that I learnt the hard way. But if I did this, it would literally kill these pets, and that is lovebirds, the second smallest type of parrot. I have rescued 2 lovebirds. Their names are Piper and Harper, and what can I say? They're sweethearts, I love them, and I'll show you a small clip of them and a couple of photos.
Hi babies! The blue one's Harper, and the green one's Piper. Aren't you 2 lovely? Yes, you are. You're nearly hand-trained, aren't you? Yeah, you're getting there. I love you 2.
On to fact number 2. This I kind of did by accident, which you might ask, how the hell did you do this by accident? Because I don't know how you'd do it normally, but I accidentally became a fully qualified hypnotherapist at the age of 19. Yeah. I bought a book type thing, an online book, and I've never bought an online book before. I've always had paperbacks, and as you can see, my bookcase is filled with all sorts of my favourites. That's only my favourites bookcase, because I have far more books than what's in there. I bought an online book, thought nothing of it. Did it, read about hypnotherapy because I just found it rather fascinating. I'm somebody who likes to learn about all sorts of different things and figure out how things work. I just try and experience and learn everything I can. There's a quote from Conan Doyle's Sherlock, which I absolutely love, and I think it is my favourite quote of all time, and that is, "Education never ends, Watson." But education never ends, and that's always been something that really stands out, and it really hit me quite hard when I first read it when I was little. And hypnotherapy was one of those things that I just wanted to find out how it worked. Anyway, after each kind of section of a book, there was a mini quiz, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. It's just a way to kind of like remember what you've learnt and see how much of it you've retained in your mind. Nope, turns out they were exams. I had no idea, but I was taking exams. And by the time I'd finished this really lengthy, e-book thing that was huge, and I went through it over a couple of months, I'm a certified and fully qualified hypnotherapist, and I've been that way for over a year now, and I'm 20, so yeah. At 19, I can hypnotise you. Woo! Make of that what you will. Fact number 3. I'm somebody who has always loved dinosaurs. Now that is a hell of a way to start off a conversation, but when I was little I was obsessed with dinosaurs and fossils and everything like that. There's a couple of kids books that I used to read the heck out of about dinosaurs and fossils and geology and just general, I don't know, like the geology of like rock formations and layering and sediments, because obviously that's what every 5-year-old loves. But I've always been obsessed. So when I went to Portugal and found something that looked like a fossil, I decided I wanted to take it home because I was convinced that this piece of rock had a fossil in it. I decided that I was going to take it into school because I had a teacher who was rather interested in these kind of things as well, and I thought it was possible that she might be able to like confirm whether it was a fossil or not, and she did, and had it sent off to a friend of hers at a laboratory somewhere, I think in Oxford, to have it tested, and it came back and confirmed that the fossil that I found was not only a nearly complete fossil of a bird, but that this bird was a previously unknown species, and to my knowledge nobody else has ever found the same species of bird fossil that I have. Technically I could have it named, and I was given the opportunity to like name my fossil, but I never got round to doing the paperwork and I still haven't got round to it. But yeah, I'll show it to you. I found it in Portugal. I thought, sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I thought potentially this might end up being nothing, and it turns out that I actually found my very own species of prehistoric bird. Anyway, I don't know how clear this will come up on the camera. I apologise, because honestly, in real life, it's very faint in the first place. So I'll show you the rock. Then I'll show you a little drawing of the outline that I did, and I apologise for my terrible drawing, and I also apologise to you, little dead bird, for making a mockery of what you look like, but I did this drawing just to kind of compare next to what you can see. So yeah, sorry, earthquake happening. So yeah, you can kind of see it. Its head and beak is currently pointing towards my eye. There. Whoop. You can kind of see the eyeball, and it comes down here, the belly, up to tail feathers, and there's the arch of its wing that's kind of flapped back because of the way that it's been preserved. You can barely see it. Here's my drawing comparison. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, birdie. Oh my god, it's even worse, like, in comparison. But you might be able to see it. Oh, you could, in this light, you can definitely see the eyeball socket of the birdie. But yeah, I've got a little bird fossil, and nobody else has one. So I'm pretty proud of that. I hope some of you managed to see it, but I think it's one of these things that you can't really see properly unless you're seeing it in person, so sorry. Fact number 4. Now then, you may know this if you have watched a previous video of mine. It's quite old, I might link it below. But generally speaking, not a lot of people know about this, and basically not a lot of people even know this kind of competing exists. And that is, when I was little, I used to compete my pet rats in competitions. Yep, you've heard that correctly, rat competitions. Not dog or cat or even rabbit or horse and type thing. No, rat, as in fancy rats. In a previous video, you may have seen that I have 4 pet rats. Unfortunately, 2 of them are quite poorly at the moment, just old age starting to get to them now, and I've never competed those boys. I've never competed those 4 boys. In fact, I haven't competed rats for a few years now. But when I was in year 6 and 7, maybe year 8, I used to compete my pet rats, and they were prize winning. So I've just got a handful of some of the rosettes that I've won. So, as I said, I just grabbed a handful, so I don't know which ones these ones are exactly, but I'll go through a couple of them right now. So, this was, Ermengarde! So my pet rat Ermengarde won this rosette, and she was the winner in the Junior Owned Doe competition. As I said, this was like a legit hobby and thing that I did, and there were like tons of people who used to compete their pet rats, their pet fantasy rats. This one is Junior Owned Buck Adult, so does and bucks, male and female. Doe female, buck male. So who won this one? Aristotle! Oh, my pet rat Aristotle won this one. So, yep, he won that category too. This is another junior owned doe, and this doesn't actually say. There will be a certificate in there. This was probably be Melcher's deck then. Yeah, that's probably Melcher's decks. This one here, I loved this one. This one's one of my favourite ones. I think this was Melcher's deck, because this was the a bigger junior owned doe competition, because she went on to win this one as well. So, yep. Another junior owned doe. Had a few does. This one's Ermengarde's. Good little Ermy. This one's junior owned buck, and that's like for a big competition again. This one's Aristotle's one. Aw, Aristotle was a lovely chap. And as you can tell, that's pretty snazzy and fancy as well. And this one is Reserve Best Pet. So this is when I came second in one of the competitions. So that lovely rosette there. And yeah, that was a fun part of my life. I used to compete my pet rats, and they used to get judged on their fur, their personality, their kind of general biology and body shape, etc, etc, etc. And yeah, I did that for a couple of years and stuff. So, fact number 5. That is, I ended up ditching an entire year of ICT, or computer skills, or whatever you want to call it. Now then, this is why it's kind of surprising that I make YouTube videos now, because me and technology don't have a good relationship. I am terrible with it. When the robots uprise, I will be one of the first to get kicked off the planet, let's put it that way, or killed, or both. So, when I say that it's strange that I actually make YouTube videos, edit them, and upload them, it really is a miracle that I'm able to do that. Very good example to show just how bad I am with ICT is that for year 8, I missed an entire year of lessons. That wasn't my decision. I was literally kicked out of the class. Now then, something you must know about my ICT teacher for year 7. She was not a teacher that people mess with. She was very well respected and also very, very strict. And I remember being in trouble with her a lot. Not for my own fault, really. I tried my best at ICT. I just didn't understand it and kept having, like, not being able to keep up with the work and keep up with the lessons because everybody else was, like, on to step number 7 on how to do this, and I was, like, still on step number 2 trying to figure out what to do and go on. And this is a bit of a story time because I remember my last proper ICT lesson, and it was the lesson before we split up for summer holidays, end of year 7, last lesson of year 7, and I brought this teacher that a lot of people feared to tears. Now then, this teacher wasn't exactly the kind of teacher who would get emotional over things, and even though, I wasn't expecting this, but she was wanting us to do, a fun activity. I don't know what it was now, but it was some kind of program, and, we were making our own pictures using pixels or something. I don't know what it was. But I started trying to do it, and somehow the computer just started not being able to do anything at all. It was still on, but if I tried to click somewhere or do anything, there'd be no response, and then the screen started going weird, and I called her over and said, help, I don't know what I've done, I've accidentally done something to it. Now, this teacher I've taught for years. She had so much there's nothing she didn't know about computers, at least at the time. And she went to try and mend it and sort it out. And she was there for a while. And this was after I had called her over about 2 or 3 times in that one lesson. We were nowhere near the end of the lesson. We still had way over half of the kind of time to go. And I remember just seeing her face drain as she looked at the screen for longer. She was already so worn out from me and so fed up of the whole kind of year of torture she had to endure trying to teach me how to use technology. And after a few seconds, I heard her sniffing, and I thought, has she got a cold or something? That's a bit weird. And then I realised her eyes were filling up with water, and she suddenly dashed out of the classroom and out into the hall. Anyway, all the kids and stuff were like, oh, where's teacher gone? This is weird. Let's mess around and start chatting with one another. But there was still over half a lesson left to go. Then, suddenly, another teacher came in, a male teacher, who said he was taking over the lesson because our teacher could no longer do it. Came over to my screen on my computer, turned it off, and just told me to do homework for the rest of the time. So fast forward to year 8, and I'm back and planning on having my ICT lessons, because at the time and stuff, at that year, it was part of the curriculum. You had no choice, you had to do a bit of ICT. And I had the same teacher again, and she came up to me, and I remember her asking to talk to me out in the hallway, took me out into the hallway and started talking about how the lessons would progress and stuff. And it was arranged that I would no longer be taking ICT classes, and that instead I would use the time to do homework instead. I wish this was a joke. I didn't have a single ICT lesson myself. I mean, obviously I was in the classroom, I was still there, but I wasn't on the computers learning anything. I was doing homework for other classes, because my teacher could not teach me and keep herself in a good mood. I would literally ruin that teacher's day. And yeah, that's the little story time of how I brought a teacher to tears and then ended up not having that class for the rest of my time at that school. Yeah, that's why it's surprising that I do YouTube videos now. Fact number 6. Now then, I don't know why this is a major problem, but there probably is a very good explanation. Maybe the YouTuber Mama Dr. Jones would be able to enlighten me on why this was so scary. But when I was born, I came out completely limp, apart from one arm. Now, I would shoot up behind my head and keep there. If a doctor pulled it down, it would shoot back up and go back to the back of my head. And I was completely floppy. Now, apparently, this is really alarming for newborn babies, which I was. I was newborn. I don't know why, but apparently that's a really scary thing. And I ended up having to have staples in my head, and I just was really very ill, supposedly. One of the things that apparently happened, obviously I was there but I can't remember it, apparently they put me on some kind of slab to do like tests and like scans and stuff. And in my first ever photo at the hospital, I am literally black and blue because I look like I've been beaten up by the doctors who delivered me. Eventually, the rest of my body started like gaining strength as such, like, although this arm was still pinging up behind my head, the rest of my body started actually reacting and moving rather than just being dead to the world. Yeah, I was a very limp baby apart from one arm. I was doing some kind of weird headrest salute kind of thing when I was born. On to fact number 7. If you've watched some of my videos before, you may know that I have a horse, and his name is Dom Dom, or rather Spot Dominica. He's an Appaloosa pony. I'll put a couple of photos in. I have a little pony, and I love him to bits. I've had him, like purchased him and like our family's owned him for 10 years next year. It's like 9.5 at the moment, but for 10 years. However, I've rode him for a bit longer than that. He, about a year or so longer, about a year and a half. He was 2.5 when I first rode him. And it turns out that I was the first person to ever ride him. Not only this, but it was my first ever proper riding lesson as well. I'd had like pony treks like at fun fairs and stuff where you get walked around on the lead rope and just basically sit on a horse. But my first ride in a lesson was also on my pony, who had never been ridden before. He'd been lunged with a saddle on, but never had somebody sit on top of him. Yes, that is extremely dangerous. Furthermore, my first lesson was out on the roads, walking around a couple of villages. How I survived is a bloody miracle, I'm telling you. But thankfully, he is a very, very good boy. He always has been. He does have his cheeky moments, but then what horse doesn't? And that is my fact, that I was the first person to ride my horse. Fact number 8. I am a fully qualified advanced scuba diver. Yeah. In case you didn't understand that, which I don't blame you, I'm a fully qualified advanced scuba diver. Obviously I'm not in my full get-up, I can't be bothered to do that for, well, not diving, but you get the gist. I've done a couple of like courses and stuff. I'm not a dive master, but I'm certainly getting more and more experienced in their dives. Aren't I? Why did I just talk to my flipper? Off with you. Ow. Fact number 9. Now then, we're nearly there now. But going back to when I was born, yay, we've had 2 my birth stories, which is a bit weird, but this also relates to when I was 17 as well, because the first car I ever drove was actually the same car my dad brought me home from the hospital in. So my first ever driving experience was in the car I had my first ever car ride in, which is pretty amazing. That's something not a lot of people can say. Also, on top of that, my dad's car is a Volvo S40 T4, and that is the same type of car a lot of police cars are. It's very sporty, and I didn't know this when I first drove it. Don't worry, I didn't drive it on the roads, and heck, I wouldn't be able to get insurance for that. I still can't get it, even if I wanted to drive my dad's car now. But it was on private land, and he was just teaching me, like, how to start off, go through the gears, and the very, very basic stuff. So, yeah. I don't think there's a lot of people who can say their first driving experience was in a car that's used as a police car in most circumstances, and also the car that they brought home from the hospital in. Yay! Finally, fact number 10. Now then, this is just a funny, quick little fact to give you. And that is, I ate my first Lipsolve. Now then, please bear in mind I was a kid when this happened, and I didn't exactly know what Lipsolve was for. I've always, like, had really sensitive skin, and always got really bad cold sores in winter. Around my lips and stuff, it was like, to the point where opening my mouth, talking, eating can hurt and make my lips crack and bleed. So, my mum, when I was in primary school, I think it was year 5, so I'd have been about 9, 10-ish, got me a Lipsolve to combat that problem. That was all well and good, but it was one of those cherry Coca-Cola flavoured Lipsolves. You know what I'm talking about. I'll put a couple of photos in. It's one that you can fairly readily get hold of. And she gave it to me and told me to put it on my lips, and it tasted nice. I didn't realise that it wasn't a sweet. So, over the course of the next day at school, I ate the entire thing. I thought it wasn't a particularly tasty sweet, but I thought it was nice enough and ate it quite happily. And I was on my way home from school, and I was complaining of, like, my chapped, sore lips and how they were bleeding. And my mum turns to me and says, "Why don't you put some Lipsolve on then?" That's when I told her I'd ate it. And that's when she told me that it wasn't a sweet. So, on that note, I'm going to wrap this up. Now you know all that about me. I'm going to say toodle pip or beans and see you in the next video.